Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
That's right, bro.
Today's lesson, we give you the title. The title is The Covenant Between God and His Children. The covenant between God and His children. People gotta understand this about God is that He only deals with His covenant. He only honors the covenant He has with people. I'm not just talking about Israel. If you come under battle of Israel, you enter into a covenant with Him, you spiritual Israel. But in order to get the promises, you got to be in the covenant of God. And basically what a covenant is, it's just a contract with stipulations or laws in it. Just like you sign a contract for your lease on your apartment or house or rent. This has stipulations. You have certain rules that you have to follow by. And those stipulations, if you don't follow by, the landlord will do what? He'll kick you out. You won't have a place to stay. Just like God said, this is stipulation of my covenant. If you follow by my covenant and my laws in this covenant, you'll have a place to stay in His kingdom. But most people don't understand that. They think just because you confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, you saved. That's all you got to do. There's more to it. There's a whole lot more to it. It's rules of the covenant. And like I said before, the covenant is simply the Word of God. The law. That's all it is. And then inside this law, inside this book, have certain stipulations that we must follow to be labeled as one of His children, one of His children. So we're going to make sure that y'all understand that today. We're going to turn to Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 1. So you understand you have to be in the covenant. And most of all, if you're in this covenant, you better abide by it. If you don't abide by it, believe me, God, He's not in the business of not honoring His end of the bargain. Whether it's good or bad, He's going to honor it. He's going to honor it. So we got to make sure we understand that. If we don't understand that about God, there's going to be some pain coming. And most of all, like I say, if you understand the covenant, you see the pain coming, and you get tapped a little bit, hey, straight up, do what you're supposed to do. Get back in line. So we're going to understand a little bit about the covenant of God. And we're going to touch on some of the rules of God. We can't touch on them all because it's a lot. We're going to touch on some of them. But I want to make sure you understand, once you enter into this covenant, how serious it is. Very serious. We got to understand that. So let's read the fine print of the covenant. Most people, another quick thing, most people are so quick to get a car, a house, all this stuff, but they never read the fine print of what it takes to keep it. And sometimes you read the fine print of it, you won't sign it. Because it got so many stipulations in it where it don't benefit you. But this covenant with God, you better sign it. Because on the flip side of that, ain't nothing else but the lake that's filled with fire. That's it. So we're going to start with verse 1. Go ahead, brother.
Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of God.
Yes, sir.
And be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of food. For they consider not that they do evil.
See, he said, keep your foot when you go in the house of God. We in here. Jesus here. I tell people this all the time. Christ is sitting right upon us. He said, if you have two or three gathered together in the midst, He's here. I believe that. And I'm preaching like I'm preaching to Him, that I understand what I'm talking about. So we got to make sure that we keep our foot, meaning our actions. Be more attentive to what you learn and not just going through the motion. Don't go through the motion with this. Understand what you're dealing with. This is a very, very revengeful God. He will get vengeance. This is what the book says. Go ahead.
Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before God.
See what he said? Be not rash. So quick to bring him out. So quick to say, yeah, I do it. Think about it first. Don't just automatically think you got to respond to everything somebody tell you about this book. You better make sure you know what you are getting into. That's what he telling you. Be not rash. Don't run your mouth so much, so fast. Or you might write a check that you're behind can't cash. Go ahead.
Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before God. For God is in heaven, and thou upon earth. Therefore, let thy words be few. Let your words be few. Don't talk so much. Because every word that you say, I tell y'all this all the time, is written. Everything. You think because you alone with your homegirl or your homeboy, you think God ain't writing it down the angel book to you. Let your words be few, meaning that you make sure you know what you're talking about, and most of all, don't sin in your words. Make them good. Go ahead. For a dream cometh through the multitude of business, and a fool's voice is known by multitudes of words.
Too many words. So folks like to run their mouth, don't even know what they're talking about. A fool, good talk.
That's right.
Let's talk. You better understand, when you come into this covenant with God, do what it says. Don't play with him. He's very serious about this. He's more jealous than you could ever imagine. Ever imagine. Go ahead.
When thy vows are vow unto God, prefer not to pay it.
That vow means when you make a promise or when you telling God you're going to do something, don't defer to pay it. Do what you say. If you tell him you're going to do something, do it. Go ahead.
For he has no pleasure in food. Pay that which thou hast vowed.
Ain't got no pleasure being foolish. Pay it, meaning do what you say you're going to do. Go ahead.
Better is it that thou shouldst not vow than that thou shouldst vow and not pay.
He said, don't open your mouth, you can't do it, basically. And then you say you're going to do something, I promise God you're going to do something, and you don't do it. It's pain coming after that. And we in the covenant with God, we got certain rules. We got the Sabbath, we got the holy day, we got the dietary law. We got all these things we have to uphold when you come into this covenant. If you don't come into this covenant, believe me, you're going to have to deal with something else much greater, and that's the lake of fire. That's the flip side of him. That's the ultimate punishment. Go ahead.
Suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin. Neither say thou before the angel that it was an error.
See what I tell you? He said, suffer not your mouth that your flesh, so your flesh will sin. Because neither say before the angel. I told you it's an angel right there next to you all the time. He listening. He writing. Because he makes sure you basically do what you say you're going to do. If you don't, God, he ain't do it. And he sent the pain from an angel. Read that again.
Suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin. Neither say thou before the angel that it was an error. Wherefore should God be angry at thy voice and destroy the works of thine hand.
You see what he said here? Destroy the works of your hand. That means that whatever you're trying to get done in life, every time you go do something, it destroys. It destroys. It's a reason for that. Because you are not operating under the covenant. That's why you're still in the same spot. It ain't got to be a lot of money. It ain't got to be a lot of things. It ain't got to be all that. It ain't got to be. It's what you want. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want to do. But if you still struggling with the same small thing, hey, you have not operated in the covenant the right way. That's what it is. We can put on fronts all day long. But you got to operate in this, or he will destroy the works of your hand. This is what we got to understand. Let's go to Genesis chapter 9 and verse 1. We're going to go back and understand some of the rules of the covenant, the fine print of the covenant. And people got to understand this, that God is not a person that he would lie. He's not. going to perform it. Genesis 9, we're going to read verse 1, and we're going to jump down to verse 8. Let's look at some of the terms of the covenant that he made with his children. Go ahead.
And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth.
This is the time God destroyed the people of the earth, but Noah and his family with water. After they came on the other side of the flood, he said, replenish the earth. Go ahead, jump down to verse 8.
And God spake unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, and I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you.
You see what he said? I establish my covenant, my contract with you. Now, you got a contract, Noah, and your family. This is what the bonds of the contract is. Go ahead.
And with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth.
Yes, sir.
And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off anymore by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there anymore be a flood to destroy the earth.
He telling them, this covenant I'm going to have with you all, the first one, he said, I won't destroy you with the waters no more. He won't do that no more. So if you worry about the earth being, the people that are being destroyed with water, that'll never happen again. Because God holds up his covenant. Let's see why he holds up. Go ahead.
And God said, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you.
He said, this is the token. This is something that you can see that I make between you and me. So you'll understand that I won't drown the world no more with water. Go ahead.
And you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations.
Go ahead.
I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth.
What are you talking about? Set that bow in the cloud. Rainbow. This is what he's talking about. Set the bow in the cloud to remember something. Jump down to verse 16. Go ahead.
And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth.
God said, I look at that rainbow, and I know to turn the faucet off. I know to turn it off. Because if I don't turn the faucet off, or the rain, or stop the rain from flowing, it will flood the earth like in Noah's day. That's the bond of the covenant. That is the reason why you have a rainbow. You better be glad you have a rainbow. It ain't full of homosexuals that they included God's word saying that this is the gay flag. No, the rainbow is for God. He said, I look at this bow and say, uh-oh, as much as they sin on this earth, I got to turn this water off. That's the bond of the covenant. So most people don't know that. The rainbow is very important. It ain't up there and say, ooh, look how pretty it is. God looking at it and say, okay, let me turn this faucet off. Turn the water off. If I don't, I'm going to flood the earth. I'm going to kill them all. Period. Let's go to Genesis chapter 16 and verse 1. Let's look at how God made the covenant with our forefathers, Abraham and Sarah. These are, like I said, the bond of the laws of the covenant. So you will know. If you don't know these, you won't get in. And most of all, if you don't follow the bonds of the you don't follow the laws of the covenant, most definitely you won't get in. You got to follow. It's all this Old Testament not put here for us to say, okay, that's the Old Testament. That been done away with. That's what they tell you in churches. You ain't got to worry about that no more. All that been fulfilled, Joe. Y'all crazy. Verse 1, let's look at our forefather Abraham and his wife. God made a covenant with them. Go ahead.
Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children. And she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar.
Go ahead.
And Hagar said unto Abram, behold now, the Lord has restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarai.
Now God told Sarah and Abraham, y'all gonna have a child. But Sarah jumped before God and said, look, you're gonna have a baby with Hagar, her handmaid. And you know most men, they're gonna go ahead and do it anyway. I don't want to do it, but you want me to do it, you can't have no kids. No, the covenant is with Sarah and Abraham, period. Not with another woman, Hagar and Abraham. I want to show you how important it is to follow the rules of the covenant. Go ahead.
And Hagar, Abram's wife, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dealt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband, Abram, to be his wife.
Go ahead.
And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived, and when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes.
How you gonna be despised in her eyes? This is what you wanted. Dealing with her mind, she said, well, I can't have no kids, so I might as well give a kid. And by this lady, and then we still have children. No, God said it's gonna be between you and Abraham. But she walked before God and tried to do her thing. Jump down to verse 11. Go ahead.
And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard thy affliction.
See, before she despised Hagar and told Abraham to kick her out. She gonna tell him to kick her out. But God said, look, that's still my child. That's still my child, Ishmael. And one thing about God, he don't just turn away the children unless they are acting outside of his covenant. He's going to do a work a good thing in Ishmael for a minute. But Ishmael, he's crazy too. Let's go ahead, verse 12.
And he would be a wild man. His hand would be against every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren.
So Ishmael, you say, is going to be a wild man. This is the Arabs. The maybe of like ISIS and all that. This is Abraham's oldest son, children. And you see right now, they hand against everybody. They do a lot of crazy stuff on this land. But we ain't dealing with that. I'm just trying to make sure you understand the bond of the covenant, how it got established through our forefathers. And this, like I said, this woman, Sarah, she tried to go before God and do her thing, but God gonna clear it all up. Jump down to verse 16. We did 12 already?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, brother.
And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram.
So he was 86 years old when he bare Ishmael. Genesis 17 and verse 1. We got to read a little bit to kind of get the foundation of the covenant to understand what we're doing. Go ahead.
And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram, and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thy prophet.
Go ahead.
And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly.
He told Abraham, I'll make my covenant between me and you. You always got to be in the covenant, a contract with God for him to perform for you the right way. But if you ain't in the contract with God, he's not going to perform the right way with you. And all the time, people get confused with this stuff because they get a lot of materialism, blessing. They think that God is doing it. Say they got power too now.
That's right.
He can do it.
Amen.
But go ahead.
Verse 3. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations.
The covenant is with him, going to be a father of many nations. That's why we always give praise and honor to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham was the first bearer of the first covenant. God dealt with him first. Go ahead.
Neither shall thy name anymore be called Abram, but thy name shall be called Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee.
Because he said he changed his name to Abram. For Abram first, but Abraham means that he's going to have a lot of children.
That's right.
And because he have a lot of children, that does not mean that every child is of the covenant. but they can come under the covenant of Abraham and Israel. Go ahead.
And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee. Kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed, thee and their generation, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee.
You see how he just dealing with covenants? Covenants are contract. Jump down to verse 9. Go ahead.
And God said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep thy covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generation. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you, and thy seed after thee. Every man-child among you shall be circumcised.
This is very important. Very important. Every man-child has to be circumcised. When you have a male or a boy at 8 days old, you need to circumcise him up front. We're gonna find out Abraham got circumcised when he was 90-some years old. But you got to make sure every male child is circumcised. Before you be baptized, every male child got to be circumcised. Period. You can't baptize a dead man if he ain't been circumcised. He got to be circumcised, period. This is the first bond of the covenant right here. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you.
It's a token, meaning that this is what I'm looking at to see if, did you circumcise your boy, this man circumcised? Women need to know this too because you have kids. You need to make sure. Abraham had forgot one time and his wife, Zipporah, had to tell him, look, you didn't even circumcise your kid. You about to kill him. She had to come to the rescue because they're going to kill Abraham's kid. No, that was Moses. That was Moses. So we got to make sure that women know because they can be out there helping to understand that. Go ahead.
And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations. He that is born in the house, or bought with money of any stranger which is not of thy seed.
Everybody. This is not just for Israel. You got a lot of people saying this is what the Israelites do. It ain't for the Gentiles. The Gentiles don't have to get circumcised. Right now in this world, they got doctors right now saying it ain't good for kids to get little boys to be circumcised. They say it's harsh to them. They breaking the bond of the covenant. It seems small to the world, but it is big to God. Very big. Go ahead. You finished with that?
No, sir.
Let me show you what he's talking about, how big it is. Go ahead.
He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money must need be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant.
Everlasting. Go ahead.
And the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant.
That means you cut off from all the promises of God if that male child is not circumcised. Period. That's just one. It's many now. Let's go to Acts chapter 20 and verse 27. All this means something. How you gonna help God run the kingdom if you don't understand this? If you don't understand this, you just like a sheep led to the slaughter. Anybody can lead you. You ask people, you been circumcised? They're like, what they got to do with God? They got a lot to do with God. They got a lot. Acts 20, verse 27. And this fly by a lot of these Sunday preachers, man. Because they read something Paul writing and don't quite understand. Acts chapter 20 and verse 27. Go ahead.
For I have not shone to declare unto you all the counsel of God. Take heed therefore unto yourselves and to all the flock over the which the Holy Ghost has made you overseers, to feed the church of God,
Yes, sir.
which he has purchased with his own blood.
So he said, take heed to this. To feed the church with this. Feed these laws to them. So you understand, we feed, when he said purchase you with blood, how did he purchase us with blood? He died on the cross. Come on. So this is why we take the Passover, to let him know we have the token. Just like you have the token of circumcision. And for your male child, it's many more, we're just dealing with a few of them. He wants you to take heed to these laws in the covenant so you can be protected. If you ain't got these, you standing out there naked before God. You don't have a wedding garment on. And that lesson I did, the wedding of Jesus, you ain't got the wedding garment on. He said, man, kick that joke out of here. Put him in the lake of fire. He ain't covered. She ain't covered at all. I ain't got no dealing with people who don't have covenant with me, and most of all, not doing it. Go ahead, brother.
For I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock.
He said, I know they're coming. Know they're coming. Meaning grievous wolves, these Sunday preachers who are going to come in and tell you that you don't have to do all that law. Jesus died on the cross for that. He nailed it to the cross. Jesus warned us here. Go ahead.
Also of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things to draw away disciples after them.
Yes, sir. Speaking perverse things, draw them away. Y'all can get drawn away. Most of all, some Israelites are going to draw you away too. They call themselves know the truth because they done said something in the book that you quite don't understand. You start following. You better understand what you're doing first. That's why we read so much of this. A lot of people think it's boring, but without reading, you won't understand God. You won't understand it. You just can't fly through this and say, okay, we had church. And that's it. No, you got to dissect this. Find out what went on in the Old Testament and bring it all the way through the New. So it don't change. Go ahead.
31. Therefore watch and remember that by the space of 3 years I cease not to warn everyone night and day with tears.
Go ahead.
And now, brethren, I commend you to God and to the word of his grace, which is able to build you up and to give you an inheritance among all them which are sanctified.
This is what we're doing. We're reading this to build you up so you can be a part of the inheritance. What inheritance? The kingdom of God. That's it. Heaven ain't got no ghetto. All they can have is a lake of fire. That's it. And the lake of fire will be in the kingdom. You will see it if you got some understanding. Let's go back to Exodus chapter 12 and verse 1. Let's look at what else the covenant has in it. The covenant is just simply the law. Whatever's in the law, that is the covenant. That's it. Because you're going to go in the New Testament, you're going to read some stuff. He did away with the first, to establish the second, and you think he did away with his commandments. You're going to touch that. Exodus chapter 12 and verse 1. These people just don't understand that they are messing up their salvation, not following this. Well, we ain't got to do all that, man. No, you just too lazy. You don't want to read, you don't want to study. That's why you're making bad grades in life. Because you're not reading and studying. Lazy. And most of all, following it. Let's look at one more thing here. Exodus chapter 12 and verse 1. He said, the blood, you will purchase with the blood. And I tell y'all, Christ is the shadow of everything that happened in the Old Testament before he came in the flesh. He shadows everything. Just like we're going to read about this lamb again of the Passover. Verse 1, go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months.
Yes, sir.
It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their father, a lamb for an house.
This is what the Israelites did before Christ came in the flesh. They took a lamb, because they honored the blood of the covenant. They had to put the blood on the doorpost. They had to take the Passover every year so God can see the token. Jump down to verse 6. Go ahead.
And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
We still doing it today with the Passover. We just did it not too long ago, last month. Go ahead.
And they shall take of